Negotiators from Russia, Ukraine, and the United States met in Abu Dhabi for the first direct talks. Negotiations resolved around a peace proposal being advanced by U.S. President Donald Trump to end nearly four-year-old war in Ukraine. The U.S. plan has faced criticism from multiple sides. Earlier drafts were condemned in Kiev and Western Europe for aligning too closely with Moscow's position, while later versions drew objections from Russia over suggestions that European peacekeepers could be deployed. Now, ahead of the talks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said the question of territory remains the critical obstacle. Moscow continues to demand that Ukraine withdraw its forces from the eastern Donbas region. Ukraine, which still controls about 20% of the region, has firmly rejected the demand. Now, after the first day of negotiations, Ukraine's chief negotiator Rustem Umerov said discussions focused on the framework for ending the war and the next steps in negotiations process. He confirmed that talks are scheduled to continue today. Now, Ukrainian president commented on the results of the first day of the trilateral talks. Hear what he said.
It is still too early to draw conclusions about the content of today's negotiations. We will see how the talks go tomorrow and what the results will be. It is necessary that not only Ukraine wants to end this war and achieve complete security, but that a similar desire somehow arises in Russia as well.
The United Arab Emirates Foreign Ministry said the two-day meeting is part of ongoing efforts to encourage dialogue and find a political solution to the conflict. The talks follow a series of high-level diplomatic engagements. President Trump met President Zelenskyy at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Thursday, while U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff later held talks with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. The Abu Dhabi talks came as fighting continues on the ground. Russian strikes have left thousands of Kiev residents without heating in sub-zero temperatures, damaging critical infrastructure. At a battered power plant, snow covers the wreckage as workers huddle beside barrel fires to stay warm. Rolling power outages remain in effect across regions, including Kiev, Kharkiv, and Odessa, following repeated attacks on key energy facilities. The European Union has accused Moscow of deliberately targeting civilians and said it has sent hundreds of generators to Ukraine. Ukrainian officials reported that Russian strikes killed at least 3 people in Kharkiv region on Friday and 4 others overnight in eastern Ukraine. Both sides acknowledged that the fate of eastern Ukraine remains one of the most difficult unresolved issues in efforts to end Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II. Russian and Ukrainian negotiators last met face-to-face in Istanbul last summer in talks that produced only prisoner exchanges. The Abu Dhabi talks marked their first direct engagement on the Trump administration's peace initiative. President Putin has warned that Russia will seek full control of eastern Ukraine by force if negotiations fail. While a Kremlin aide said Moscow is interested in a diplomatic resolution, he also said Russia will continue pursuing its objectives on the battlefield until an agreement is reached. President Trump this week said he believes both leaders are close to a deal, but warned that failure to reach an agreement would be a mistake for both sides. In a related development, a tanker suspected of being part of Russia's sanctions evasion shadow fleet is being escorted to the French port of Marseille, FOS, a day after it was intercepted by naval forces. French authorities, with support from allies, boarded the oil tanker Grinch on Thursday on waters between Spain and Morocco, and this after it sailed from Russia's Arctic port of Murmansk. The vessel is expected to arrive at Marseille later this morning.